and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Oregon. How you doing? I'm glad you can join me today, Oregon, America, and beyond. I hope many of you are tuning in. We're going to have an interesting show. I had to completely switch around the shows today, and it was all my fault, completely my fault. Sometimes I'm a really big idiot, and somehow I missed the email from Mama Lee, that's Debbie Lee, who is Mark Lee's mother. She was going to be on the show, and unfortunately, she had a family emergency. And of course, I missed the email. I was out of town this weekend. I didn't catch it. And so I completely was caught off guard. I prepared for a completely different show, but that's all right because I got a savior. I've got a savior today, and this man is incredible. He's going to be coming on. He's going to be talking about a lot of the things that he's doing. And I'll tell you what, I've been in the radio business a long time, and he's been one of the most interesting guests I've had on the radio. And now that I'm off the radio and I'm doing podcasts, it's my honor to introduce Sheriff Richard Mack. Sheriff, how you doing?
Rob, always good to be back with you. Thanks so much for having me, and I'm glad I was available. And I guess you call me Sheriff Minuteman.
Sheriff Minuteman. I like the name. I like the title. That's a good one. You know, we've got in Oregon, it's almost illegal to be a Minuteman. It's almost illegal to be in the militia or have a militia, even though it's recognized under the Constitution.
You can't even say Minuteman in Oregon.
You can't even say Minuteman in Oregon, right? I mean, it's just absolutely nuts up here. But they just passed new legislation. I think it was in 2022, where if 3 of your buddies or would go out even shooting or practicing maneuvers with your rifles, that's considered a militia, and you can actually be fined for this. And I'm sure this is completely unconstitutional and will be challenged because in Oregon, the Constitution recognizes the militia. But get this, if we have businesses who are being attacked by Antifa and you show up with a bunch of guys with ARs, that's under the same law that would qualify you as acting as a militia or a private security, and you can go to jail for that. Can you believe the nonsense they're doing in Oregon?
Well, what does that do to, let's see, how many times does the United States Constitution address the subject of militia? Right. And it's at least, it's mentioned in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment specifically, and in Article 1, Section 8, it's clear that militia is necessary to the security of a free state or a free government. And so no wonder Oregon, being anti-constitution, anti-freedom, anti-individual liberty, no wonder they're against it.
Yeah. You still live in Arizona, right?
Yes.
All right. So you live in a still what we call a free state. Here in the Republic of Oregon, we are under the control of one party. We've had one party rule. And when they took rule back over 20 some odd years ago, when we got mail-in ballot, can you believe this? When we got mail-in ballot, all of a sudden we got one party rule. And at the time, they were what I would call moderate Democrats, if you can believe they still exist in Oregon. They did back then. And now they're nothing but flaming Marxists. These are communists. These are people who do not believe in property rights. They do not believe in the right to self-defense. And I'm living under a regime here in Oregon where I feel like everything that happens here and happens in the state below me here on the West Coast is just a primer for what's going to happen for the rest of the country. I don't know if you feel that way, but I know I do. I just living here.
Well, it's obvious that the woke mentality and the political correctness and the whatever you call this destruction of America today by the socialist and communist movement promoted by the deep state and promoted by the Democrat Party and promoted by some Republicans. I will say this. The Republican Party is a little bit better than the Democrat Party, but the Republicans keep chasing after the Democrats and trying to be like them. Right. And so let's just get this real clear here. I'm not a big fan of the Republican Party, especially at the national level. I'm not. But I cannot stand the Democrats at all because, first of all, their agenda is to destroy what made America great in the first place. And I'm not trying to sound like MAGA. I'm just simply saying America was founded on individual liberty, God-given liberties, God, family, and country. And I love the founding fathers and I love the Constitution. And these people keep destroying it. But I will add this too. If you look at the worst things going on in America, abortion, gun control, deficit spending, where they have us now in about 35 trillion, and they want to add another trillion or two every year to the deficit, and they don't think that's a problem. It's criminal misuse of public funds and taxpayer dollars. It's criminal. And so you put all that together, both the Democrats and the Republicans are doing that. And they have made this mess and crisis together. Now, I think that some Republicans do support the Second Amendment. A few Republicans are against abortion. But when Trump first got in and he had Republican Congress, they had a chance to defund Planned Parenthood, and the Republicans wouldn't have it.
For 2 years, they held on to both houses. He had the majority. And for 2 years, they didn't fix the border. They didn't go after the funding for Planned Parenthood, baby killing is what I call it. And they didn't go after the deep state the way that we were hoping Donald Trump would go to. But he's only one man. He's only one branch of the government. And there was a whole entire other branch that was completely AWOL. I mean, he literally fixed the judicial branch. I mean, he put a lot of good people in the Supreme Court. I mean, they're not all like Clarence Thomas. I'm a big Clarence Thomas fan. I really love Clarence, and
I do too. And and on my case, he was the best one. But I don't like Barrett, and that was a big. Right. I think she was a big mistake.
Kavanaugh, I'm not always so happy with. And of course, John Roberts, he calls himself a Republican, but
there's three of them right there that have been 50-50 on Constitution and principled issues.
So we just had Mike Johnson, because we were just talking about the control of the party or the legislature during the Trump administration, but we've got the Republicans in charge of the House right now, but they don't seem to be in charge of the gavel because Mike Johnson, who was just recently voted in as Speaker of the House, he could have done something about the border, especially the border, by not passing this budget and allowing the government to shut down. I don't have a problem with the government shutting down. I think sometimes we might
go home. Tell them to shut down for a year. Tell them all to go home and leave us the hell alone. Yeah.
And tell them, no, don't come back until you're willing to play, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
it's just disgusting.
It should be an immediate dismissal for anyone who violates the Constitution and anyone who can't balance their budget. If they don't balance the budget, stay within constitutional spending, send them home. And without pay. Not with pay. Send them home without pay. And then and then we'll give them 2 months leave without pay, and then they can come back and try to fix the budget. But right now, nothing ever happens to them when they criminally misuse public funds.
And going back to the founders believed that Congress, especially the House, the people's house, was why they made sure that the House had control of the purse strings, the money where it goes to, because they believed that the people's representatives would use that authority in the House, that second wing of the legislature, the legislative branch, as a way to keep a check on an over-authoritarian government. Of course, the founding fathers never imagined what we have today. I mean, with all the different alphabet soups that we have today. But they have failed. They have literally failed to do what the founders intended them to do.
Yeah, and they all swear an oath of allegiance to the Constitution, and maybe what, 2 or 3 even care about what that says.
Right.
And they don't care if they keep their oath. They don't care about the Constitution, unless they can use the Constitution to attack Trump. And then they'll quote from the Constitution. I was amazed that Nancy Pelosi could ever quote from the Constitution, because she doesn't give a damn about it. And then now all of them, oh, well, what about Amendment 25? Well, yeah, look at your O'Biden and tell us about that. But no, it is the bottom line with all that we're saying right now is that the federal government, Washington, D.C., is so absolutely and utterly corrupt. And we have got to have a solution for that. And even if Trump gets back in, I don't believe he's the solution. I hope he is, and we can make the sheriffs of this country part of that solution. But right now, I hope Trump wins and joins us, the sheriffs, in taking back America, because I don't believe we can do it in Washington, D.C. If you judge, like Patrick Henry said, I only can judge the future, but by the past. And so if you look at that, there's no solution in Washington, D.C. And I believe that this organization that I formed, the CSPOA, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, I believe that it's the only peaceful and effective solution we have left. And that is we take back America county by county with one good constitutional sheriff at a time. And out of the 3,000 sheriffs that we have in America, we would only need 1/3, 1,000. And we can take America back with that. And the people, all your listeners, all your members, everybody viewing this program, they've got to be a part of the solution. And we ask all of you to go to our website and become a member of the CSPOA posse. We didn't call it a militia because they've already ruined that word, but it's the sheriff's posse. And we can train you how to train and work with your sheriff.
I want to talk about that, because I think you are completely on target with this problem is not going to get fixed from the top down. It's going to get fixed from the bottom up, and it's going to take every single county out there, because the counties were created in every state just for this type of purpose. But before we go to that, I do want to get your opinion on the Trump campaign and potential election. I really don't see how he can't be elected unless you take into consideration all the fraud that's going to go on in this election, and with the mail-in ballots, with the ballot stuffing, the ballot harvesting, the lousy machines that they're using to count these things, to count the ballots. I think there's so much potential for cheating that it's, even if Trump gets in, and let's say he gets in, I think there's going to be riots. I think they have leashed Antifa and BLM, and I believe there's going to be riots after his election. I almost believe that they may want him to be elected just so they can go ape crazy. What's your thoughts on that?
So they can burn the entire country down instead of just Portland and a few other places.
Yeah.
My honest opinion is, if he wins the election, and I'm surprised he's been alive this long, I believe they'll try to kill him. I've never seen such an out of control hate as these people have. Adam Schiff, he gets asked about his lying to the American people. He lied to 300 million people over and over again that he had evidence of Russian collusion of Donald Trump and his family. And now that we've exposed that that was a lie, do you know what he calls it? Steve Garvey has confronted him, and he was asked about it in a debate between the two of them. And he said, I stood up to a corrupt Donald Trump. He's a corrupt politician. And I stood up to him. And then Garvey says, you lied to 300 million people. That's all you did. And so here Adam Schiff calls his lying and dishonesty, his deception, standing up to Trump. No, you see, that makes you more corrupt than he is, because you lied about that, and you lied to the American people, and you were doing it to get rid of Trump. And it turns out you lied, and you didn't just fabricate evidence. You fabricated that you had any evidence whatsoever, and then he wants to call all that deception and dishonesty standing up to Donald Trump. I had the courage to stand up to Donald Trump. No, you are a damn liar. That's all that proved. And you're more corrupt than you thought that you're trying to make him out to be. That's what's stupid about you. And what's even stupider is that people would even vote for you now. But I can't get any of that. But let me ask the American people right now one question about election fraud. We've been using Dominion and other computers to tabulate the votes in America. Can anybody please tell me what government purpose is served by all the billions of dollars being used to hook up computers to tabulate votes in America? What government purpose is served by using computers? Whether it's Dominion or whoever, I don't care. Dominion can go to the devil for all I care. I don't care about them. I care about honest and fair elections. I care about honest and fair tabulation. And everybody knows in this country, everybody knows that there's not a computer on the face of the planet that can't be hacked. They've already proved that these computers are hacked. So please, let's go back to my question. What government purpose is served by using all those tax dollars to have these machines tabulate the vote? We can play a little Jeopardy music in the background.
Right. And yeah, yeah, exactly. We could play the Jeopardy music, but you and I know the answer. Yeah,
it's an easy answer.
It serves the deep state.
None.
There is none. It only serves the deep state.
Yeah. I mean, even if you said, well, somebody has to count the votes. Yes.
Yep.
Does it need to be these machines? No, it doesn't. And the thing of it is, well, they do it faster. Well, who does that help? That just gets the media a story quicker. Who cares? They're liars too. They support Adam Schiff.
And you know, that's a bunch of BS. And I'll let you finish your thought there in a minute.
No,
but that's a bunch of BS here in Oregon, because they've turned election day into election week, which then turns into election month or a couple of months. But election day used to be one day. Well, they passed another ordinance here in Oregon, we were the first to have those mail-in ballots in any state in the country. And then just last year, I think it was just last year, it was 2023, right? They just passed legislation where the county clerks, and we go back to the county level, the county clerks have to accept ballots that were mailed in by election day. So 7 days they give them. They give them 7 days. And on that seventh day, she can put out the actual total of what the election results were. But for those 7 days, anything that comes in the mail that supposedly is postmarked, they don't even have to have a postmark on them. You're not going to believe this, Richard. They don't even have to have a postmark on them. But as long as they receive them 7 days after the election, the county clerk has to take those ballots and has to count them for the election day. And I don't understand why I understand it helps with the cheating, but I just don't understand why we as a people keep accepting this.
Yeah, it's really it's still scary. And a lot of us watching the elections have said, well, they're going to be a lot more careful this time. They're not going to stop cheating because it's been so open and blatant. So all that the movie 2000 Mules did, and all the exposure that we've given it, from True the Vote to several sheriffs that have investigated it, election fraud,
Yeah.
they're just going to be more careful, and but they're still going to cheat. Now there's only a certain percentage how far they can go. They know that they can only go so far, because like last time, all the votes that came out didn't actually mesh at all, and one of them that didn't mesh was 215 counties that Obama won, Biden lost. Biden actually got more votes ever than anybody in the history of the Democrat Party, but he lost 215 counties more than Obama did. So somebody would go right there, what's wrong with that picture? And you would think that would prompt an investigation right there. Oh, no, not at all. But there was a lot more evidence than that, and there's been loads of evidence. And the sheriff of California in San Juan County made an arrest of a city councilman who was harvesting ballots, and showed 75 people voting from his home. And he was arrested. And Yuma County Sheriff Wilmot arrested 2 or 3 people there. He had warrants out for others. And then after it came out publicly, for some reason, those warrants were never served. But then Sheriff Schmaling in Wisconsin, he had a thorough investigation because people came and complained that manipulating votes out of nursing homes, and that workers and Democrats were actually voting for the infirmed in these nursing homes. And families came out and said, my mother's not capable of voting, and even if I come and help her, she can't do it. So we stopped doing it, and now we see that she's voted. Well, and so Sheriff Schmaling did an investigation and found out that there was at least 6 public officials in charge of this cheating. He turned the evidence over to the Attorney General. Well, guess what the state Attorney General was? A Democrat.
Can you
so
imagine?
What did he do? He made fun of the investigation and never did a damn thing. So this is what we're dealing with, and yet they'll come out and say tomorrow, they'll say it again, there is no evidence of election fraud in 22 or 20. Oh, well, Sheriff Dar Leaf has been investigating election fraud for now 3 years. 3 years. And Tina Peters tried to secure the election statistics, and she was charged criminally, and she's still going to another trial this June, where she might be in prison for like 10 years. And she was the county clerk who was just trying to secure the election.
Right.
And so if you question the election, then you're an election denier, and you're a conspiracy theorist, and you're a racist, and you're a white supremacist, and you'll get blasted if you just ask questions about the elections.
And we are really being targeted here in Oregon. They now have a program through the Oregon Secretary of State where they're going to use this AI algorithm to find what they call misinformation. Misinformation is information that they just don't agree with, whether it's right, wrong, or otherwise. They just label it misinformation. And now they're going to be able to use this AI to seek and search out for this information, and then target that information as it's coming out. This is a new program that Oregon has started. It's almost Chinese, Maoist in the sense of what they're doing with this type of internet technology, this modern technology that they're able to go in and use AI, this artificial intelligence, to go after what I call real intelligence, real people intelligence, and target them. And so I guess people like me, and probably you now, because, well, you mentioned the word militia. So I'm sure you're on the Secretary of State's list here in Oregon.
Of course.
And so, this is one of those things that we're going to be battling now. We're not even going to be battling, their lies. We're going to be battling our truth, because we're going to have to be able to fight off this AI generative BS that they're going to sling against us. And I'm sure this show is going to be targeted quite well.
Well, yeah, it will be. And I'm surprised you haven't already, but it's just a matter of this. And I asked the sheriffs all across the country this question, and all public officials, because some sheriffs and some public officials do not believe they have to keep their oath. They have to take it, and they'll take it. But they really don't believe they have to know the Constitution, enforce the Constitution, understand the Constitution, or give one whit about the Constitution. And so my question to all public officials is, who is it in America that's charged with protecting liberty? Easy question. So ultimately, most of them just want to say, oh, that's just the Supreme Court. Whatever the Supreme Court says, I'll do. Well, it's supposed to be whatever the Constitution says. That's what you're supposed to do. And so if the Supreme Court is wrong, or if the legislative branch is wrong, or anyone else in the federal government is wrong, and they're outside the Constitution, and they're not keeping their oath, and they're not upholding and defending the Constitution, does that bestow some sort of responsibility on you to go along? And at the CSPOA, that's exactly what we train everybody to understand. It's your oath, it's your Constitution, it's your county, it's your stewardship, and all three branches of government are supposed to do the same thing: protect and preserve, uphold and defend the United States Constitution. And those four words just happen to be the motto of the CSPOA: protect, serve, uphold, defend. That's our motto.
And so, folks, and that's what
you've got to get on board with that. And we need you to be on board with this. This is the only peaceful, effective solution that we have left.
And going back to another point you just made, talking about how they can only cheat so much. And I always refer it to this, or compare it to this. It's like a casino. When you go into a casino, they always have 1 to 2% odds. Some machines maybe more, but they always have 1 or 2% odds in their favor. You might go in and you might win one night, but the majority is, if you go into a casino and continue to gamble, you are going to lose, because the odds are always in the favor of the house. However, with the elections, even though the odds are in favor of the people who are, the odds of the people who are cheating are trying to make those odds in their favor. If we overwhelm them with a mass turnout, with the majority of people turning out, because we have about, several 100,000 Republicans who don't even vote in Oregon. And if we had a bigger turnout, larger turnouts with this, we would overwhelm the percentages that they're using to complete or fulfill the cheat that they're trying to commit. So you and I are not talking about, because we're talking about how there's voter fraud going on. We don't want the voters to stop voting. In fact, we want them to vote more, and not more in one election, but we want them to vote in more in their numbers. You know what I mean? Would you agree with that statement?
Well, yes, and but the bottom line, there's more election fraud than that, and you kind of alluded to it, because the voter rolls are now being packed with illegal aliens. And so the purpose of having the illegal aliens come into America was not just to bring in more fentanyl, was not just to increase human trafficking, was not just to increase the sexual exploitation of children, which all of those have happened. And what does Biden do about that? He wants to hire 87,000 more IRS agents. And he came out with a big press conference and released a statement that he was going to protect the American people from the fraud. And I couldn't believe, I thought he was joking, because he is a joke, but I thought he was joking when he said he's going to protect the American people, from the ice cream cartons being smaller in this country, and the potato chip bags are only half full. He literally said that, folks. Here we're being overrun with the cartels and international terrorists into our country. And what does he spout off? Protecting us from ice cream fraud. Well, my goodness. This is so mind-boggling and so stupid. It would be funny. But this is sad because it's all part of one thing, and that is the destruction of America. And they are stealing our birthright, and that is the American people, we the people, choose and delegate authority to all public officials. And they are robbing us of that, and they are destroying America. And all they're trying to do is get a monopoly on the voter rolls to where in just about every state all across the country, they will win any and all elections that they want. This is the subterfuge and the dishonesty and the treason of the Democrat Party as it is happening right now in real time.
In real time. And like you said, they're going to utilize all of those illegal aliens. And I know they don't like that term, but it's the proper term. I'm going to use it.
If they like it or not.
Invaders. Right. Illegal invaders. These people are invading this country. And anyone who saw that video recently of those guards being attacked down at the border, I don't know how you can't call it an invasion. It was just ridiculous. But one of the other things they're using right now is what we call here in Oregon, because I don't know how big this is in your state, but we have what we call the homeless industrial complex. And that's where they are enabling what they call as homeless. These people are not homeless. These people are street people who choose the street to live on the street because they're drug addicts, they're criminals. They want to be squatters. I mean, you would not believe people being allowed in Oregon to go into someone else's house and squat and claim it as their own. It's just unbelievable what's going on. But the thing is that we've got people, one of them here in Coos County, in my little county, is called the Devereaux Center, where they allow the homeless to use their address to get all kinds of benefits from the feds and from the state. And then, of course, they register them to vote. And Absolutely. So many of us, we're wondering who helps these people who are drug-addled, mentally deficient individuals. Who's helping them vote? And what's stopping these non-government organizations, these nonprofit organizations from taking those ballots and just filling them out, just getting a signature on them, and then they fill it out? I think there's just, once again, another huge opportunity for deception in the election.
And now you know why that they are giving driver's licenses, they're giving social security numbers, they're giving social security, they're giving free places to live. They want to keep them here, and they want to make sure they get registered to vote. And this is all part of this plan. And then, if you object to that, then, you're a homophobe and you're a racist and you're a bigot.
Right.
And now they won't even require that people going to vote have identification. And if you require identification, then you're against the downtrodden, and you're against the poverty-stricken, and you're against races, and
right.
How could you be so cruel? And all of this, with the complicity of the national media, is to simply create the Democrat monopoly. And it's
voter suppression.
Fraud,
that's what
you want evidence of voter fraud. Look at how many illegal aliens are being registered to vote. There is your voter fraud.
And it's only going to, and of course they're going to vote for the party that is giving them all their money. Yeah, the party that brought them here, the party that's funding them. And did you hear that the illegal aliens, they're getting checks from the federal government to the amount of $2,200 a month, and yet your local, your average Social Security recipient or your average disability recipient is bringing in about $1,400 a month. You work all your life, you pay into the system, and you're going to get that much less than what an illegal alien is getting for invading the country.
That's me. I don't mind telling you. I worked 20 years in law enforcement. I worked 7 years as a teacher and I've worked as a consultant, and now what I do for CSPOA, I do seminars across the country. I've paid into that system over 52 years, and I get a whopping $1,437 a month. That's it. I'm not on disability or anything else. That's just what I get. And illegal aliens get more than I do.
That is such a disgrace. That is, my parents are going through the same thing. My parents are, you know what I mean? They're living on a very fixed income. And it almost makes me want to cry when I hear that we're allowing people who are invading this country to receive $2,200 a month. That's on top of free housing they're getting. They're on top of free medical that they're getting, on top of the NGOs who are providing clothing, who are providing cell phones, who are providing all the amenities of life that every other person has to pay for, and they're getting it for free.
And how do these aliens even get up here? Are you trying to tell me that the illegal aliens from Venezuela, 4,000 miles away, that they walk all the way to the Mexican border? No, they're getting bussed. They're getting flown. Biden has put hundreds and hundreds of flights, not people, but flights to all major cities in America loaded with illegal aliens. And then some of them even get housed in the basements of the airports. But whatever, they're all being pushed into the cities, all being trained to go get registered to vote. Where does Biden get any authorization to spend one dime on helping illegal aliens come into the country? He does not want to stop it. Then he gets mad at the Republicans for not voting for this bipartisan bill that will guarantee 5,000 illegal aliens every day. The man is so shameless. He does not want to stop the problem because he needs this to happen. His calling, his job with the Democrats is to promote illegal aliens joining the voter rolls in every state. And of course, it's destroying our country in the meantime. But they say, oh, that's the price we'll have to pay. They're willing to sacrifice that, and all the deaths and all the overdoses and all the victims of human trafficking and sexual exploitation. They're willing to sacrifice that for the good of the party. Can we get any more debased than that?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, we're even more debased by the fact that we're not even just allowing this to happen. We're incentivizing it. We're incentivizing sex trade slave in our own country. And if anyone doesn't see the horror of what's going on in the border, I mean, they've got children who are just showing up, and any old willy-nilly person is going down there and just picking up kids. And I'm thinking, what is in the mind of these people? I have children. I don't know if you have children, Richard, but if you know what I mean, it's 5. Okay, 5 kids.
And 15 grandkids.
Yeah, I wouldn't leave my grandkids and my kids alone in a Walmart, much less at the American southern border. And yet this is exactly what we're doing.
Good point. I totally agree with you. And this is shocking that it's our own government doing this.
Yeah.
Folks, it doesn't please me to say this, but I've been saying this for the last 3 or 4 years. I said it a lot during Obama. Didn't say it hardly at all during Trump. And then I'm saying it even more now, that the greatest threat to our God-given constitutional American liberty is our own federal government.
Yes. I would agree with you wholly. One other aspect before, because I do want to go to the counties and the posse, the sheriff's posse. I definitely want to cover that because I think that's extremely important. Yeah. But there's so much going on. I just wanted to pick your brain on some of your thoughts on these issues. But this is another aspect of illegal immigration. My family, we make our money off of being coffee roasters. And we bring in coffee all over the world, mostly from South America. Excuse me.
What countries in particular? Ecuador, El Salvador,
Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, Argentina, Brazil. I mean, you name it. We get coffee, specialty coffees from all over the world. And one of the things that we're having problem with the supply line is that some of these countries have had so many of their low-level workers coming to America, excuse me, that they no longer have workers to pick the beans and refine the beans so that they can be brought and imported into America, because they've left to our country. So they don't have the workers. And in fact, I believe it was Ecuador where they were selling, several farmers were selling their farms because they couldn't, pick the beans. It wasn't economically sound for them anymore. And so I don't think people realize that there are a lot of industries who depend on these low-level workers. They're absolutely necessary. Every person in the workforce is important. And if you get rid of that low-level worker, you're going to have troubles in the supply line for all of our products. And I don't know if you were aware of that, but we are, as far as being in the business, it's already affecting us.
Well, people need to be prepared, and for a lot more than that. And if you go to our website, go to this website. If you think that the terrorists and cartels are going to hit America's grid system, then you're like I am. And we highly recommend that everybody get a satellite phone, because you won't be able to depend on your cell phone towers that are saturating our country. I have nothing against that. That's a legitimate business. Cell phones, I've used them for quite some time, but satellite phones will not be hooked on those towers. They go to satellites. That's why they're called satellite phones. So folks, if you really want to be prepared and you want to be able to communicate with your family after the cell towers go down, be ready. Now, these will help you even now. If you ever out on a lake, out on the ocean, out on a river, out in the middle of a desert, like out here in Arizona, up in the mountains where your cell phones don't normally work at all, and you want peace and safety and this kind of insurance and peace of mind, then get yourself a satellite phone and go to, this is real easy, SAT 123, sat123.com, and then use my last name, Mack 50, sorry. You get an extra $50 off. The phone is free. And then you have to pay a monthly, and I think it's $89 a month. But with a free phone that normally costs $1,100 or so, that's a pretty good discount to pay that. But you're paying for that satellite service. I have 2 of these phones, and they work great. My son has one in Hawaii where he works right now. He calls me from all these remote areas over there in Kauai, and it works fine. And so, folks, get yourself some communication insurance and get these satellite phones now. When the emergency,
what's that website again? Sorry.
sat123.com, and then put Mac 50 to get an extra $50 off. sat123.com, Mac 50.
Right.
So absolutely necessary. In fact, there's sheriffs and people on search and rescue squads trying to get these phones because they're cheaper than the portable radios they use, and they can use them for communications no matter what happens to cell phones and cell towers. So
that's
vital
good
insurance.
to know. And that's something.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, we are here in our county, we are using many different, there are groups of us, there are groups all over the nation, but here in Oregon, because like I said, we feel like we're being specifically targeted, that we are using all kinds of forms of communications. And so we can, if anything happens, an EMP strike, they just pull the off switch, whatever happens, we can still continue to communicate with each other. And so I put it up here, sat123.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Put in Mac 50 for a discount, and I hope people can see that and get tuned to that, because from what I understand, those are, like you said, it's very reliable, and you can find yourself in a very bad place and not have any communications. And
Right.
that's, especially like out here in Southern Oregon, they think we're Portland. A lot of people, they think Oregon,
Yeah.
they think Portland, but the fact is we're a huge state. We're one of the largest states. And we've got a lot of empty territory here, and people come up here and they go missing. I used to live in New Mexico. They'd go out in the desert and they wouldn't realize the extremes of the weather out there, and they'd get lost. This would be important things to have.
White Sands, New Mexico, in Otero County. I've been there several times, and folks, there's a lot of remote areas that we frequent a lot, even just driving around, especially in the West. And you might need those phones. I will tell you one caveat. They do not work very well inside a building. Okay. You got to get that satellite through the ceiling, and sometimes they don't go. Now they do have an antenna, and I've been able to use it some places in my home, but it works a lot better if I walk outside the front door. But just so you know, and there's some buildings, especially skyscrapers, where they will not work. So go outside, get in the clear.
Yeah.
So they do work, and they're an amazing insurance policy. And the next insurance policy I want is for each of you to join us at cspoa.org and become a member of our CSPOA posse. And we do training every Wednesday now. We're going to do our posse webinars every Wednesday evening. You'll all get emails about that. It's only $11 a month or $99 a year. It's not even $10 a month. Come on. And folks, you're keeping the movement for constitutional sheriffs and sheriffs to defend this country and to take our Constitution back county by county, one county at a time. That is the answer. And folks, you don't have to wait for another election. You don't have to wait for some legislation. This is what the sheriffs can do right now. And you can join him, just like Sheriff Songer in Washington County has 150 people on his posse.
Yep.
And these are all sworn in posse members. Every sheriff should have this, and you should go talk to your sheriff about getting that going, and we'll help you with that and help you how to approach your sheriff and what to ask him, and we can help him form his posse as well. Every sheriff in this country has the authority to do that.
Sheriff Songer in Washington County up in Washington State was one of the ones who helped us with that Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance.
Yes.
And he was really pushing that strong, and he's a really great guy. He's getting up there in age. You know what I mean? That's the problem. I hope he's got
still
a good
sharp
couple
as
of
a tack,
deputies.
too.
He's
a good man.
Yeah,
He's
but that's the problem. All of us are getting up in age. I'm almost 60 there, Richard. And it's like, I'm getting afraid that we don't have a whole lot of people to replace you guys in law enforcement anymore. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many who are being indoctrinated into this leftist agenda who are going into law enforcement, and a lot who are being driven out who are part of people who believe in the Constitution. Sheriff Songer is one of them. Let me ask you, you've got a sheriff there in Pinal County. His name is Sheriff Mark Lamb.
Mark Lamb. Yeah.
Is he a good guy?
Yeah, he's okay. He's pretty good. I would have liked to have seen more action from him, but he was one of the first guys during the pandemic to come out and say, we're not arresting anybody for not closing down. We're not arresting anybody for not wearing a mask. And he was telling that to a friend of his who happened to be the governor of Arizona at the time and a member of the same party. And so Governor Ducey kind of had to backtrack a little bit because Sheriff Lamb said, we're not going to do what you said. And we're not going to do this. And so, of course, Lamb got a lot of attention from that. He was very concerned about voter fraud, but he never conducted an investigation. And I really wished he had, because they had problems with their computers in Pinal County.
Right.
But Mark is a good friend. He's a good man. And he's running for U.S. Senate now against Kerry Lake. And I'm not for those two running against each other. They're going to hurt each other politically, and then make whoever wins, which I think is going to be Kerry Lake. She's pretty far ahead in the polls, but it's going to hurt them when they go to the general. So anyway, they both would be a good senator and a good fit there. But I worry about good people going to Washington because they'll get Washington D.C.ized and the deep state will take over and
Yeah.
and turn them into something else. But no, it's Mark. Mark did show a lot of leadership at the border and a lot of leadership in defending people in his county against the pandemic mandates, which were a joke.
I was very fortunate. I was able to get an interview with him a month ago, and and he was. I'll tell you what, he reminded me a lot of you, Richard. He was very, very good on the Constitution. He was very strong, better than a lot of sheriffs that I deal with here in Oregon, and even some respects, my own sheriff, who I like. He's a nice guy. He was in the military. He served in PSYOPs in Afghanistan and Iraq. So. The guy is very intelligent. One of the things we actually had Cade Lamb, his son, come out here for an event we had, and we brought in Kyle Rittenhouse. You're not going to believe this. We had Kyle Rittenhouse fly in with Cade Lamb to Portland Airport, and we had our guys pick him up under the cover of night, bring him all the way out here to Red County in Oregon. Yeah, they still exist. I know people aren't going to believe that, but we are Red County. 58% of the people in Coos County voted for Trump. And we brought him out here. We had a shooting event. We had the Republicans had their committee meeting that they were voting for a new committee person, a nationwide committee person. And so it was wild that we would be able to do that without, causing too much of a ruckus. But Cade Lamb, his son, another great guy. I was glad to have him out here.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, good kid. And this is, there are them out there. And the guy who came with him, his security was from SEAL Team 3, another really great young man who had his head screwed on right. So there is hope. There is hope. There's a lot of good kids out there.
Amen. And then one other thing that we have cooking at the CSPOA, we've got General Flynn, we've got Mike Lindell, we've got some good, strong constitutional sheriffs, including Bob Songer and Dar Leaf, and one from the border in Texas, Sheriff Raymond Del Bosque, a Democrat. He's coming to our meeting. He's going to tell you about the horrible chaos at the border. And we're having a huge meeting all day long on April 17th at the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. And anybody who would like to come, if any of your listeners in the Las Vegas area, or anybody want to come over from Oregon or California, please do. You will love this event because it's focused on solutions. I think the wake up tours have done enough. We're awake. We've seen the horrible chaos going on. Now we need to focus on solutions, and that's what this meeting is about. Your participation is vital if we're going to take America back and do so peacefully and effectively. And it's all about the doctrine of interposition, that your sheriff will interpose and stand in the way and stand in the gap to protect you from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so this meeting will be about that. Mike Lindell will be there. Again, General Flynn, yours truly. I will be talking about the most miraculous Supreme Court case in the history of America, the one that Sheriff Prince and I won at the Supreme Court in 1997. And we will discuss this and we will show you with all of our hearts and all the evidence that this case is the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of America. And that if we will just adhere to this decision written by Justice Scalia, that we can take America back. And yet the liars and the pundits and CNNs and all these others attack this decision and say it was meaningless. It doesn't mean what Sheriff Mack says. You come and see for yourself and come to that meeting and you listen to what's going on and listen to these great speakers. You'll be amazed. You'll be touched, and you'll be part of the solution yourself. We've got to focus on the solution. That's what we do at CSPOA. Join us.
I couldn't find that event. While you were speaking, I was going through the CSPOA website and I looked up events and I don't see it listed.
I'll make sure it gets. It should be. They should be putting it up today or tomorrow on the front page.
All right.
this is our big event. So again, April 17th starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, goes to 9 o'clock at night. One other little thing I want to tell you, the Russian news media will be there.
The Russian news media.
News media will be there. There's also one from London, and then quite a few from all across the country. But after we finish with the training at about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, we'll take a break, have some dinner, and then we'll have a press conference with international media. And you
How
can
much does this
participate
event,
in that.
how much does the event cost for
$49 per person.
Is that it? Is that it?
That's it. Except if you're running for office or you're currently a public official, you're free. So any cop, any sheriff candidate, anybody running for town council, mayors, county commissioners, you're free.
You can't even get a prime rib dinner in Las Vegas anymore for less than $49 there, Richard. This
Especially
is a great
at Lowry's.
price.
Yeah, you are correct.
I mean, remember the buffets they used to have in Las Vegas? You'd almost eat for free, and now you can't even do that. But that's a really good price on that.
Yeah, it is. So come on over, folks. Ahern, that's the non-casino hotel. AHERN, but I'll get you a flyer and I'll make sure you pass it out to all your people.
You bet you I will. That's the type of thing. And heck, I may even drive down there. It's a 12-hour drive for me. I won't fly, but I might just drive down there.
We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you, Rob. Come on over.
You got it. So let's get back to what you're doing with CSPOA, because you were talking about your webinars. Your webinars are instructive. They're helping people basically at a county level, because and this was part of your case and the 10th Amendment that, not only do you have states' rights, but counties have a sovereign right too, is what we were trying to argue against the state of Oregon. And because there are 36 counties in Oregon, 31 of them are red counties. And so we have been arguing for a long time that even with this, using the state constitution, that they're violating the rights of the counties when they try to impose the lawlessness that goes on in this state. One of them is that Ninth Circuit decision on homelessness. And then the state upheld that Ninth Circuit Court. Yeah, that was the right term. Ninth Circuit Court decision to allow homeless to camp on public land. And it's created a sense of lawlessness here in Oregon and California. I don't know how well Washington's being affected by it. I know they are. But where the Constitution talks about your rights, but it also talks about limiting the government authority. But I would argue it's a violation of our rights as taxpayers to have people camping on our sidewalks, because we pay to walk on the sidewalks, not to have them just camp there doing drugs, whatever. Where do you lie with this?
Well, first of all, the entitlement programs have created more poverty now than they have when Lyndon Johnson first announced the war on poverty. And our country has spent about $5 trillion the last few decades trying to stop poverty, and we've created more of it. So we need to get back to good homemade American values. These people, a lot of them are capable of working, and they should be working. And we need to turn charity back over to the churches. And when government gets involved with forcing people to be charitable, this is what we get: more poverty. And the entitlements and the welfare programs have not worked. And so, again, the United States of America has no authority whatsoever to be in welfare, to create a welfare system. And creating the welfare state is something the founding fathers were very much against. And this has no constitutional authorization whatsoever. The hundreds and hundreds of welfare programs we have. And we've seen how Biden cares about the Supreme Court. They told him it was unlawful for him to give back money to people who have student loans. Well, he did it anyway, and he's still
He
doing it, and he's
did
giving
it
our money
anyway.
away like we don't need it, like the federal government doesn't need it, and now he comes back and taxes us all the more. And so
Yeah.
the complete and utter corruption of Washington, D.C. is just mind-boggling. And folks, we've got to wake up, and we've got to stop going along. Do not comply. Non-compliance is the answer, and we've got to stand firm. And now imagine that we don't comply, but our sheriff is standing firm with us in that non-compliance. That is a peaceful and effective protest.
And that's, when we go and we have sheriff's elections here, that's one of the first things we ask them. We ask them about if they are involved with your organization. And
Yes.
I know Sheriff Craig Zanny was, I believe he was a member, if not a student of yours in some of your classes. The new sheriff, not so much. And it worries me because, I talk to him and he does sound like he understands the purpose of the Constitution, the purpose of having a limited
That's
government.
what we're after. I don't care if they
Yeah.
join us. I don't care if they join the CSPUA. And I don't care who teaches them the Constitution. They can do it themselves for that matter. What we
Right.
want is sheriffs who know and understand the Constitution and defend it and enforce it. That's our goal.
So what are the other subjects you cover in your webinars?
Well, first, we cover absolutely everything that my Supreme Court case covers. And in that, it says a double security arises to the rights of the people when, quoting again, the different governments will control each other. That's right from the Supreme Court case. And then another one, the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. And then it says it protects us from, quote, the crisis of the day, because they will do what they tried to do with pandemic to engineer us and socially engineer us and accept their premise that as long as there's an emergency, they can do any damn thing they want to us.
Right.
To us. And this decision protects us from that if we enforce it. And so we talk about the Bill of Rights, whether we're not a democracy or a constitutional republic. You have to know what form of government we are if you're going to be able to defend it. And then we really talk about the God-given rights supersede all other laws. And that is our charge as sheriffs, to defend the God-given rights we were blessed with when we became members of the American society. So we show the problems, we show the solution as the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the oath of office. And after we go through all that, that takes about 3 hours, and then we review it, and we go through every Bill of Rights, all 10, and the 27 or 28 principles of liberty that are detailed within the Bill of Rights. And let's take two real quick examples. President Trump has had his 8th Amendment violated, obvious, excessive fines or bail. That's against the law.
Right.
Excessive fines or bail are a violation of the 8th Amendment. The other one is the 7th Amendment. He was not allowed a jury trial in a matter that it says of the value of controversy is over $20. Well, his involved $450 million, and the judge refused to allow him to have a jury. Why? Because the judge would no longer be in charge, and
Right.
the corrupt prosecutor would not be either. And so here we have obvious violations of the Constitution. Again, politics supersedes the Constitution.
That was, the Seventh Amendment, that goes back to William Penn and the trial of William Penn, and how they continue trying him until they've got the results that they wanted. And that was, with the jury, because of jury nullification, they wouldn't they wouldn't find him guilty. They kept saying, no, he's not guilty. He's not guilty. And the jury nullification is one of the things that that's another check on the government, the judiciary itself. And it's not practiced in many places. And I think that, and a lot of times conservatives were afraid of it because, they were practicing it in Democrat neighborhoods like Chicago and stuff to get violent drug dealers off on their charges by having juries be fixed with jury nullification. However, and I argue to a lot of people on the right, look, you still have to have this check on the federal government because eventually they're going to come up with laws that they're going to try to prosecute people with. And the judges, like you said, if they're denying a jury, what they're denying is Trump's ability to have that nullification of the law. It doesn't really nullify the law overall, but it nullifies the law in that case, which I think is extremely important. So it's funny that you brought up, the Seventh Amendment and the Eighth Amendment, because most people don't get after the second one.
Let me read the seventh.
Okay.
The Seventh Amendment. In suits of common law. So this is a lawsuit where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved. What? There it is, black and white, and that this judge doesn't get that and literally denied him a jury trial. You know why? Because we, the people, are the deciding entity in every case in this country, unless the person says, I waive my right to a jury trial. Trump did not. He asked for a jury. It was denied. So
I love listening. Chris Ann Hall, right?
Well, of course.
Oh, yeah. Chris Ann Hall does a great discussion on jury nullification. And now going to the Eighth Amendment about excessive fines and penalties and stuff, they're literally, after denying his right to a jury, after violating the Seventh Amendment and the Eighth Amendment, they're literally going to try to put him out of business, which hopefully they think will take him out of the election.
Yeah.
All by penalizing him for a crime that I don't even think was a crime because there were no victims.
Well, it wasn't a crime, and they sued him for civil fraud. Which still, where's the victim?
Yeah,
she would have to prove that the state of New York actually lost $400 million on the deal, which is absurd. They didn't lose anything because he's paid all of he's paid all the loans back. The companies that loaned him the money are totally happy with it.
Right.
So where does the state of New York need to get involved? They're not out anything. They've made money. The banks made money, and Trump paid his loans.
And who doesn't sell a property trying to overvaluate that property? Isn't that the capitalist system? I mean, I've sold several properties in my lifetime, and you're darn right. Oh, you can't live without this. It's worth this much. You know what I mean?
But you still have to have an independent appraisal. You still have to have that. You still have to have an appraisal. Right. And he doesn't. Trump didn't do the appraisal. So no, what a farce this is. All she is a hack for the Democrats. She promised in her campaign she would do something about it, and now she has. And she's a liar, and she doesn't give a hoot about civil rights or the Constitution. She should really be ashamed of herself, but she's beyond shame.
Oh, yeah, they have no...
Hey, anyway, I've got to get rolling here pretty quick.
All right. I'm sorry to keep you real quick. Once again, when is your webinar, and how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, everybody go to CSPOA, stands for Constitutional Sheriffs Peace Officers Association, CSPOA, CSPOA.org. And right there, you'll be able to donate. You'll be able to join the posse. Just put it on a card, whatever you want to do. We need you to be a part of this solution. And this is the best and most effective solution we have left. It's peaceful and effective. So God bless every one of you. And Rob, thanks so much for having me.
It was a blast. Thank you for saving me. And we'll get you back on because this is a never-ending war, and you are one of the leaders in this war. You're a true soldier, sir. And thank you much for your service. All right.
Thanks much. See you soon.
All right. And that was Sheriff Mack. Like I said, he saved my ass today. I didn't know what to do. I was traveling this weekend. I missed an email from the lady who was supposed to be a guest, someone who I was very much wanting to talk to. I mean, I'm talking about Debbie Lee, Mama Lee. Her son was one of the first people killed in the Iraq war, the Iraq conflict and war. Let's don't call it a conflict. A conflict is something I have between me and an attorney. No, this was a war. And her son, she made the ultimate sacrifice, losing her child. And I know having children, having a child, having a grandchild, that's the worst suffrage that any parents could go through. It's just amazing that she is so resilient, and we're going to get her back on. And I thank Richard Mack for being here. Richard Mack, once again, you can find out more about him at Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, cspoa.org. And between his case that went to the Supreme Court in the Bruin decision, there should be no doubt that counties should be able to protect their own right, their own ability to defend every individual's right to self-defense. I mean, every sheriff out there should be going to CSPOA and joining Sheriff Mack's posse. He's someone I've been paying attention to for, going back to 2000. Well, when he had his case, but when we first had his case, that's when I really started paying attention to him. But I didn't really meet him until about 2006, 2008. And it was such an honor to have him on the radio show when I had a radio show. And so I'm glad that he was willing to come onto the podcast. I mean, just out of the blue, he came on. And so, you don't know how much that means to me. And we will have him on. I think he deserves a lot more advertisement, a lot more people knowing that he's going to be on the show, because he always gives a great interview. He's someone who has a lot of information. And like I said, go to this website that's at the bottom of the screen, the CSPOA, the cspoa.org, and check out some of the things that they're doing. Go become a member and watch their webinars he has. A lot of good stuff going on. We will get Lee back on the show. There'll be a lot to talk about, because America's Mighty Warriors, that's the organization that Mama Lee created, and she had a family emergency, and I screwed up. It was totally 100% my fault. I missed the email where she told me that she had a family emergency. So we will get them back on, because the young man on the screen right there, Mark Lee, he deserves every bit of attention that we can give him, and so does every person in the military. These are soldiers. These are people fighting for us. These are people who do our bidding, even if you don't like the war that we have, because most of the wars that we fight today, they're not worth a damn. It just makes me mad that we're sending beautiful young men and young women off to war to have their limbs torn apart, to have their body torn apart, to be burned, to be mutilated, and we're just sending them willy-nilly to all these different countries. And I guarantee you right now, when the government, our federal government, is saying, oh, don't worry, Ukraine, no boots on the ground. Israel, no boots on the ground. You know what that means? There are boots on the ground, and there have been for a while. And our young men and women, the young people of this country who are serving this country, they are at risk. They are at risk. There's bases in over 700 there are 700 bases in over 150 countries, and we need to make sure that we give them the respect that they are due, because war is big business, just like none ya business. That's right. War is big business, and believe me, unlike none ya business, war is definitely our business. We have a right to tell the federal government, if it's not a war where we're fighting for our survival, then you don't need to do it. You just need to stop doing what you're doing. And so I will get Mama Lee on, and we'll be talking to America's Mighty Warriors and what they're doing. They're doing really good work for our military people. I've got a little bit of news for you. The river is essentially dead. This is a report that was just recently put out. It's how climate cultists, and they are cultists. Climate change cultists are definitely in a cult. They're brainwashed, and they've got leaders like Greta Thunberg. I wish my producer was here. He'd play that clip from Greta Thunberg. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah, Greta. Yeah, get your ass off to school. But Greta Thunberg and people like the people from the World Economic Forum, they're pushing this climate change cultism. But this article here on how climate cultists push to save salmon ended up killing hundreds and thousands of the actual fish. And it's one of the stories that I'd been talking about earlier this week. And it's just absolutely it's incredulous. It's incredulous what these people are doing to our natural resources under the guise that they're trying to save species. They're not saving species. Let me read you a little bit from the article. It says the river is essentially dead. How climate cultists pushed to save salmon ended up killing hundreds of thousands of them. A well-funded environmentalist group played a key role in the push to remove dams in the Pacific Northwest Klamath River ahead of the premature deaths of thousands of salmon. This is thousands of salmon that they killed by removing the dam, not by allowing the dam to remain, because that really wasn't the problem. The problem is they wanted to remove the dam. And why did they want to remove the dam? Well, parts of the reason is if the dam was actually producing energy, hydro energy, then they have to get rid of these reliable sources of energy so that they can bring in the unreliable sources of energy, such as solar. They've got to use all of our farmland now for these solar farms. And hopefully next week I'll have a video for you about one of the solar farms that basically surrounded another family farm. And the guy who owned the family farm that was surrounded by the solar farm, the guy who filmed it, he had a drone in the air, and he shows this huge array of solar panels all over this farm, this area that used to be a farm, and it's surrounding another local family farm. And that owner of the family farm, who was being surrounded by this solar array, eventually killed himself. And this is what's happening. The environmentalists are pushing people to their own destruction, and they're pushing the environment to its own destruction. They're killing animals. They're destroying our environment. But this organization, American Rivers, if you ever heard of American Rivers, they're a bunch of Nazi commies. Nazi commies. I said it. They're a bunch of Nazi commies at the American Rivers. I mean, a lot of them think they're good-natured people who are doing God's work by benefiting all of us and helping nature. And when I call it God's work, they worship Mother Earth. They're a bunch of Mother Earth worshipers. But it's an organization that has received millions of dollars from left-of-center environmentalists, grant-making organizations in recent years. They orchestrated the Klamath Dam's removal project, according to the Siskiyou News, a local outlet in Northern California. The drawdowns of several reservoirs pursuant to the scheduled removal of 4 dams in the river preceded the deaths of hundreds of thousands of young salmon in the waterway, according to Oregon Public Broadcasting. Yeah, that's another leftist group, but they're actually admitting that the removal of the dams did more damage than it did good. I'll continue with this story. It says the push to remove the dams is often marketed as beneficial for salmon. Well, of course they do. And as proponents of the plan, including American Rivers, have argued that the dams obstruct the natural movements of salmon as well as their access to habitat. However, weeks after beginning the process to remove one of the systems scheduled for deconstruction on the river, a large number of the 830,000 young salmon released into the river on February 26 had died as of March 2nd, according to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. CDFW officials attributed the mass death to gas bubble disease, which is caused by changes in the water pressure and stated that the changes in pressure driving the deaths were attributed to old dam infrastructure that is slated for removal. The agency further stated that water turbidity and dissolved oxygen levels do not appear to have contributed to the mass death. The young salmon that died traveled through a tunnel involved in the dam infrastructure that had previously not been accessible to the fish before officials alerted the flow of water through the system as part of the removal process. So already they're screwing up. However, some officials of the environmental policy experts are not buying the government's explanation for the mass death of salmon, and nor should they, because the government's a bunch of lying assholes, okay? They're a bunch of lying assholes. You shouldn't believe them. But some officials were asserting instead that it is clear that the removal of the dams set conditions for the mass death. Wow, can you imagine that? Yeah, it's kind of like when they told us to take the logs out of the streams, and then they found out that taking the logs out of the streams were actually detrimental to the fish because the fish used the logs for their own habitat. Now they're telling us, put the logs back in the streams. Why? Because these people are nuts. It's the same thing with everything they do, from low flow toilets to all the other garbage they say. It's a bunch of nonsense. We need to stop listening to these environmental wackos. They're in a cult, and until we do, we're just not going to live a good life. It's just not going to be good. And I love none of your business. Nothing more dangerous than do-gooders. Yes, do-gooders and ne'er-do-wells. Do-gooders and ne'er-do-wells are going to be the destruction of this world. That's right. All those people, all those ne'er-do-wells who don't produce a damn thing but want to criticize everything else everyone else is producing, well, they're the ones who are going to destroy this world. So if you're a do-gooder, you're a ne'er-do-well, you can screw off. I don't have time for you. And what's another columnist? None of your business. He's on a roll today. Leftists destroy everything they touch and everywhere they go, all while blaming normal people. And that's true. They do. They blame normal people like me, people who like hamburgers, who like to drive gas fueled cars. Yeah, they think we're the enemy here. And I love the planet just as much as anyone else. And I think that we can use the technologies that are reliable and make them better instead of creating technologies that are a bunch of the cultist, climate cultist Bible, like that solar and the windmills that they want to bring in. Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. Southern Oregon now boasts of the world's largest dark sky sanctuary. I don't know if you've heard about, I don't even know if most people know what a dark sky sanctuary is. That's one of those sanctuaries where they limit humans' abilities to light up their own property or their own house, and this is something they tried here in Bandon, and they wanted to pass what they call the Dark Skies Ordinance. And what this ordinance would have done is it would have taken away everyone's ability to have big security lights, to have display lights, the lights that shine on your house or shine on your yard or your lawn, and they wanted to get rid of all those lights. Any exterior lighting would have been eliminated except for one 60-watt bulb. They wanted to do that in Bandon. In fact, they did do it in Bandon. They passed the Dark Skies Ordinance, and yours truly, I filed a referendum. I got enough signatures. I put it on the ballot, and we won in the election because the voters shoved it right up the ass of the Bandon City Council. They told the Bandon City Council, we're not taking your Dark Skies Ordinance. Hell no. Hell no. We like to light up our houses, especially if we live in areas where there are criminals, where there are people who are trying to do us wrong. We want to have that type of lighting. In fact, there were several elderly women who contacted me and said, Rob, I want to sign that petition because I use security lights so I feel safer at night. I don't have a husband. I don't have a dog. I don't know how to use a gun, and I can't really protect myself because I'm a little old lady. And you know what? Lighting, the police will tell you, is the best way to deter criminals. So we got rid of the Dark Sky Ordinance here in Bandon. And yeah, I'll take credit for it because credit credit goes to where credit is deserved. And I went out and I got those signatures to put that law up for referendum, meaning it went to a vote of the people, and the people told the city council abandoned, who are a bunch of thieving bastards. They told the city council, hell no, we're not going to take your BS. Well, guess what? The federal government has taken part of Southern Oregon. I think I got a chart here. Yeah, let me take down this comment. I got a chart here. Here's the Oregon's Dark Sky Sanctuary. A huge swath of Southern Oregon has been named the largest dark sky sanctuary in the world. Advocates are hoping to expand the sanctuary in the coming years. Yeah, they want to expand it to your house because they want you to shut off your lights, live in the dark, unarmed, so that all these squatters and all these filthy criminals can take advantage of you. Why? Because the left is insane. I have no excuse for it. They're just freaking insane. And so this Dark Skies project that they're doing, and I remember when I was out there getting signatures, for the Dark Skies ordinance to get it repealed. And some guy came up and he starts yelling at me, I want my dark skies. I want my dark skies. I said, well, go shut your freaking eyes, you idiot. You know, you want dark skies? You can have them at your house if you want. You can go out into Eastern Oregon. There's plenty of dark skies. And in fact, most of Oregon is one of the darkest damn places I've ever lived. But it's ridiculous because 98% of Oregon is undeveloped. So they don't need these dark sky sanctuaries. They don't need dark sky ordinances. We are already 98% of the state is undeveloped. I could walk 5 minutes in any direction in Bandon and I could find dark skies. So all this is about control. This is about telling you what you can and cannot do on your private property. Why? Because they're communist, and the goal of communism is the abolition of private property. Once again, here it is. Do you need any more proof? I don't know. You might, because some people, they're a little slow. But we'll help you out with that. It's not a problem, believe me. Here's another one. Farm dairy consolidation on the rise in Oregon and nationwide. This was a story out by East Oregonian. The East Oregonian put out this story, and I'll read a little passage from here. It says, Salem, the average farmer in Oregon, is getting older and getting out, is more energy efficient and likely farming on more acres than in generations past. These are just a few key data points in the latest census of agriculture published by the U.S. Department of Agriculture last month. It's undertaken every 5 years by the agency, and the latest report details changes between 2017 and 2022. It includes more than 6 million data points about the state of American farms and ranches down to the county level. In Oregon and nationwide, the census shows a rapid consolidation of farms and an increase in the number of animals on smaller swaths of land as confined animal feeding operations, or CAFOs, become the norm for raising thousands of livestock for dairy, egg, and meat production. Yeah, I guess that's still allowed for now. Pretty soon you'll be eating bugs. But I digress. Let me continue here. As of 2022, there were about 35,500 farms and ranches in Oregon, a decrease of 6% since 2017. The average size of farms in the state, however, grew by about 1, with 3% of the state's farms accounting for 3/4 of all agriculture goods produced in the state in 2022, meaning we have fewer family farms, but we have more corporate farms, which may not be a good thing, because who's coming in here into our state and buying up all our land and buying up all our food production? Well, those communist bastards from China. That's who's doing it. Those commie bastards are buying up our land and all our natural resources. And what are we doing as stupid Americans? Oh, you stupid Americans, you let us buy anything. Is your daughter for sale? Oh, we lucky. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're allowing to happen. And about 25% of all land in Oregon is used for agriculture, according to the report. In total, The state's farms and ranches produced more than 6.7 billion worth of products in 2022, up more than 1 billion from 2017. So we are increasing the amount of numbers that we're selling, but the question is, who the hell are we selling that to? Well, guess who? Yep, China. China, the communists. They're getting fat off our beef. And what are we doing? Well, we're getting more and more families out of the farming and ranching industry, which is very bad. Very, very bad. We need more Oregonians, people who live here. And I don't care what color, creed, or sexual orientation that you practice, we need more real Americans farming in America. It's just a better idea. The state is not spared from the nationwide wave of consolidating dairies. Oregon lost more than 120 small dairies between 2017 and 2022, while the number of dairy cows raised in large operations increased. Once again, we're losing the small dairies, but the corporate operated dairies are increasing. This is like the farming and ranching industrial complex. Yep, I said it, and now you know it. The farming and ranching industrial complex is trying to centralize the production of our food once again to control the people. So hopefully you're catching on to this. This was just a couple of stories that I came up with in the few minutes that I had to prepare for this show. But I continue. The state's largest cooperative dairy, Tillamook County Creamery Association, is currently being sued in a lawsuit over greenwashing claims brought against it by the Animal League Defense Fund, or commies for another word, and 4 Oregon consumers. The Oregon Live reported that the state Supreme Court is determining whether to allow the case to move forward as a class action. The plaintiffs argue that the cooperative selling dairy products under the Tillamook brand advertises its products as being made with milk from small family dairies on the Oregon coast, but the bulk of the milk sourced for Tillamook products, more than 2/3, comes from the state's largest dairy operations, 3 Mile Canyon Farms near Boardman. The State Department of Agriculture has issued a permit to the dairy for 28,000 cows. Oregon farms are increasingly using renewable energy, unreliable energy. The report shows a nearly 25% increase in the number of farms using renewable energies for at least some of their needs, with 90% sourcing from solar panels. And you know how they have to use those solar panels? It takes up more agriculture land. So I'm not sure if it's an all-out win there. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a loss for the farmers over a longer period of time. But the age of the average Oregon farmer rose slightly from 2017 from 57.9 years to 58.6 years. Just 7% of the state's farmers and ranchers are under 35 years old, and nearly half the state's farmers and ranchers are women, according to the census data. And you know what that means? I'll tell you what that means. A bunch of old guys like me are still farming, and we're not going to be farming for very long because, that sciatica in our backs, yeah, it's taking a toll, and we're not going to be able to milk old Bessie, or we're not going to be able to slaughter the cows. We're not going to be able to take those farms and farm them the way they need it to be farmed. That's why we need young people out there like you. Maybe you're one of those young people. So considering buying your own farm, because if it doesn't happen, then those farms are going to start going to the large corporations. And what did I tell you? Who's buying those large farming corporations? Well, the communist China, because they're stinking bastards who want to take over our country. That's just the way they are. I'm not saying this because I'm making it up. I'm saying it because it's true. Another story that I had here that I thought was of interest, and it's related to the dairies, is Oregon Agriculture Department reverses burdensome requirement on small dairy farms. This is another way that the state, the deep state, the establishment can take away your property rights. They overregulate you to death. This is one of the reasons why there are so many people getting out of the farming and ranching industry. It's because they have to live by all these regulations. Not only that, the cost of farming and ranching, it just doesn't pay out over the long haul. That's why they're being sold, these small farms, these small ranches. That's why they're being sold to the larger corporations, who those people are, they live under these regulations because they're the ones who support these regulations, because they know it helps to put out their competitors, which are the smaller ranches and farms. But this was one of those things that just came out recently. And let's see here if I have this. Republican Real Deal, Ed Deal, he put out the notice that these new regulations on the dairy farms, which has to do with watering and the way they use water. In fact, they weren't going to be allowed to use water, and there was a whole new permit process that they were bringing forward. But it says here in his statement on Facebook that many of you reached out regarding small dairies and other livestock operations that were facing burdensome regulations related to the confined animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. We have been notified that the Oregon Department of Agriculture, commies, is withdrawing the policy for small operators effective immediately, and will review the CAFO rules in the near future. And then it goes on with his email. But once again, you have the Oregon Department of Agriculture trying to over-regulate these small farms, and especially these dairy farms. And if you think this is over with, it isn't. It's only because there was a huge public outcry. And hopefully we will continue that. When you see the bullshit, you've got to fight back against it, or you're going to be choking on the bullshit. And you don't want to be doing that. You want to be eating and drinking what comes off of these farms and ranches, because that's the good stuff, not the stuff that comes out of a bureaucracy. You don't want to eat the stuff that comes out of a bureaucracy. It's not good. It's not good, I tell you. Let's see. Here was another article. I love this. Former House Republican leader Christine Drazen plans to primary the GOP representative, James Heeb. I believe this is District 51. Remember when Christine Drazen said, I'm no longer going to be in politics. No, I'm not going to be in politics anymore. Well, she lied. Why? Because Christine Drazen is a liar. It's exactly why I wouldn't support this woman in the governor race back in, 2022? Yeah, I think it was 2022. I remember there was a lot of good candidates. You had Bob Tiernan. Yep. You had Mark Thielman in there. You had a lot of good candidates, a lot better candidates than lying Christine Drazen. And she's a liar because, once again, she said she was getting out of politics. But no, what is she going to do? She's going to primary a Republican, a fellow Republican who's an actual good supporter of the Second Amendment, a really good candidate. I've met James Heeb. I support and totally endorse James. I think he's doing a great job. And I don't know why. Well, I know why. Because Christine Drazen is a liar. And once these people, they taste the power, they taste the power of politics. Oh, it's so good. They just love the power of politics. They love it so much they get addicted to it. It's kind of like Oreo cookies. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's like Doritos to some people. But, once they get a little taste of that, they got to keep going. And that's what Christine Drazen is doing. She's going to keep going. And she's going to take out a good Republican who, if she replaces him, the replacement, Christine Drazen, is going to be a moderate, crappy representative, one of those Republicans that I could never support. It was like when Mitt Romney ran for president. I couldn't support him, and I was in the Republican Party at that time. I've come back since then, but when Mitt Romney decided to run against Obama, I couldn't support Obama, but I certainly couldn't support Mitt Romney. And I ended up supporting the Libertarian candidate, who I think was Harry Brown at the time, because, I was wild about Harry. And what can I say? Harry Brown was a good guy, but Mitt Romney, he was a douchebag. Just putting that out there. And I don't think Christine Drazen is any better. And I don't even think that James Heeb has a Democrat opponent. Why would a half-ass Republican run against a really good conservative Republican like James Heeb? I mean, the only reason is, once again, they got a taste of that power, and they're just what can I say? They're just as corrupt as the Democrats. And so I hope you all get out there and support James Heeb. And certainly you don't want to support Christine Drazan. This was an interesting one. The voters have decided, or not the voters, but the party has decided to go after Christine Goodwin, who's running in, it slips me which district. It's Art Robinson's Senate district, because Art Robinson can't run again because of the laws or the measure that was passed. I believe it was, I can't even think of the measure now. But the measure that was passed that stopped or took away the ability of the parties to walk out on a legislative session to deny the other party a quorum, that law was passed. And so Art Robinson, he just can't run for office again. But the voters sue to keep Republican Representative Christine Goodwin from running for the Oregon Senate District. Why? Because she doesn't even live in Art Robinson's district. Can you believe this? I mean, and Christine Goodwin gets a great rating. I think she's got like 100% for CPAC, and yet she's lying to the people and telling them that she lives in one district when she really lives in the other district. And who is she challenging? Well, Noah Robinson, Art Robinson's son. Noah Robinson is running for that seat. I support Noah Robinson. I fully endorse Noah Robinson. And I would have endorsed Christine Goodwin if she wasn't a liar. If she wasn't lying to us. Lying Christine Goodwin. I don't know why you're doing that. I don't know why you're doing that, Christine. I would expect much better from you. You're a much better Republican than Christine or Drazan is. But Christine Goodwin, I don't know. You need to think about this, because you actually live in my Senate District, Senate District 1, where we've got that douchebag senator. Well, that's what we call DBS, the douchebag senator. DBS, David Brock Smith, he's the one who you should have challenged. If you would have actually not lied about your residency and tried to say you were in Art Robinson's district, but instead you would have said the truth and ran in Senate District 1 against David Brock Smith, I'd be supporting you. I'd totally be behind you, Christine. I'd be behind you 100%. I think we probably wouldn't have had so many people in that race if you would have gotten to the race and challenged David Brock Smith. But for some reason, I think you like being in the old boys network. That's all we got here. You've got Court Boyce, you got Virgil Osborne, you got now Christine Goodwin. We're all part of that old boy network. You got a few people on the county commissioners positions here in Curry, Coos, and Douglas who are part of that old boy network here on the southern coast. And I'm sick of the old boy network. They're a bunch of watered down Republicans, and now Christine Goodwin is part of that watered down Republican conglomerate, the old boy network here, the good old boy network. And so shame on you for Christine for lying about where you actually live. It's just not a good thing. It's really not a good thing. This was interesting. Mark Rubio leaves ABC News anchor stammering when he lays out the truth about Biden's record. And he also talks about his potential as being on the short list for potential vice presidential picks from Donald Trump. I don't know why Donald Trump would pick Mark Rubio. I think what his comments and what he has said about January 6ers is, unforgivable. And I'm pretty much done with Mark Rubio, but I love the fact that he did stand up to the ABC anchor here and basically called him out for it and explained that he would run as vice president with Trump, because when service calls. And so that's a good thing. Oh, I don't want to go there. But that's just some of the news that's happening. And I'll have another wonderful guest on next week. I don't know who the hell it's going to be. I haven't figured it out at this point. Maybe we can get Debbie back on. Debbie Lee, Mama Lee, that would be great. I will have to email her and find out. She's got a big thing happening on April 6th. That is Mark Lee's birthday. So I don't want to interfere with that. So, we will find out where she's at on that. If not, I've got a lot of other options for you. I mean, it was really cool once again that Richard Mack was able to come on the show and take care of some business. So, you know, it will get better. You know, that's the liability of having a live show. Sometimes you just have those technical difficulties, I guess. And I have a lot of difficulties. Yeah, I'm just not perfect. And so I want to thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed listening to Richard Mack. I love talking to him. And like I said, we'll get some more guests on here for you. What I hope to get, this is what I'm planning on doing. I plan on, and I don't know, I haven't asked them yet, but I want to get commissioner candidates for Coos County. That's Chris Castleman, Drew Farmer, and Bob Main. I would like to get all three of them on the show at the same time to have a candidate for them. And I might be able to do that. We will see. I know Drew Farmer said he's willing. I know Chris has said he's willing. I don't know. I haven't talked to Bob. I don't see why Bob wouldn't. Bob's got, you know, he's got a good record. He's got a pretty good record for a commissioner. But he's been in there a while, so some people want to change him out. But I really don't see why he wouldn't want to come on to my show to talk about this. I know we have a tax levy that's coming on the ballot, or is going to be on the ballot in May, and I don't know how that's going to affect Bob Main's candidacy. So that would be an interesting discussion. So I'm going to try to have the commissioner candidates on here. I hope to get back on Ashley Hicks to talk about her candidacy in Senate District 1. I don't think I gave her a fair opportunity to really talk about her campaign. I did have her on the show, but it really wasn't the topic. And so we will get her back on here to discuss that. And I have a lot of other potential guests that we will be bringing on. And so stay tuned. Tune in every Monday. This past Friday, I had on a young man by the name of Josh Michael, who has his own podcast, who has his own radio show up north, up in Marion County. And so if you didn't get a chance, you got to go check out Rumble and check out my last shows. But the show I did on Friday, it was a Friday night rant. Yeah, I know. I get on a rant and I just keep going. That's just the way I am. And so I did a whole show, a Friday night rant, where I brought Joshua on and we talked about several different subjects. It goes on for about 2 hours, but it's some really good stuff. I think you would enjoy it. If you like this type of, if you like this type of show, well then like and subscribe to my page on Rumble or YouTube at Rob Taylor Report. And I would very much appreciate that. You don't know how much I'd appreciate that. There it is, right there at the bottom. Go check out my website at robtaylorreport.com because I got a lot of information on the blog page. I post all my podcasts as soon as they're done. So you can check out all that stuff on robtaylorreport.com. And please like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel and to my Rumble channel. There it is, right there at the bottom of your screen. Those are the kinds of things, if you're looking to help me out, that would actually help me out. That would be beneficial. I know we didn't play Where's 3H Tree Service this week. Matt said he had a meeting. So who knows? Oh, and by the way, Kevin Starrett just wrote me. He just wrote me an email. I got to see this. He just wrote me an email saying something about Christine Drazen. Let's see if I got this. Oh, shoot. Where did it go? Oh, there he is. Kevin Starrett just responded. He says, Drazen, who has been elected to nothing, is now attending caucus meetings. Yes, that sounds about right. He is already being treated like he lost the race, of course, because that's what they do. A lot of the establishment Republicans, well, they're scumbags. They're scumbags. There's no nice way to put it. They're scumbags. And so Christine Drazen, who's part of the scumbag party, is once again now acting like she is the queen bee, has already been elected. But I think she's going to have some competition. I think people know what kind of person Christine Drazen is, and I think they're going to not like it so much. You have to wonder where the douchebag Helfrich is on this. Yeah, you have to wonder, because he isn't much better. He isn't much better as far as being someone who is, not very well rated. not very well rated by CPAC. I think he has like a 50 or something like that. So Helfrich, you have to wonder what is the establishment Republican doing to help these moderate, watered down Republicans who aren't doing anything to help anyone. I've thank you, Kevin, for the message. I appreciate that, and thank you for watching. We're going to keep up on this race. I really think that James Heeb, I think he has a good chance. I think there's a good chance that people know Drazen for what she is, and I don't know. The odds may be against me, but I'd bet on it. I would bet on that long shot of a horse, James Heeb. I think he's done some good things. I think he will continue to do some good things. I want to thank one of my sponsors for the show, 3H Tree Service. Like I said, we didn't get to play Where's 3H Tree Service. Matt Holman had a meeting. He has a meeting. He's a very important man. He's also a former military man. Yes, he's a veteran. And so if you want to help out a business that's owned by veterans, 541-294-1800, get a hold of 3H Tree Service. They can take care of those tree problems like nobody's business. They can remove those trees with surgical precision. It's amazing. Go check out 3H Tree Service's Facebook page. Let them know that Rob Taylor sent you. They dig that. They love it when people watch the show. Tom and Gigs. If you go over to see Tim over at Tom and Gigs, you need to get your auto repaired. You need a new muffler. You need to take care of that stuff. I highly recommend Tim over at Tom and Gigs. And you know what? Man, I'm just thinking about this. I forgot to send a notice over to Tim so we could get him on the show. I like to let Tim do his little rant on the show and then promote his business. And damn me to hell, I forgot to have Tim from Tom and Gigs on the show. Tim, please forgive me. I sincerely apologize that I'm having a lousy Monday. In fact, I'm getting attacked by ants right now. I got ants crawling on me. It's summertime, it's springtime, it's getting close to springtime, and the ants are coming out. I'm having one hell of a Monday. I don't know what's going on here. It's just crazy stuff. If you're not being attacked by the leftists, if you're not being attacked by Antifa, you get attacked by the ants. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but I also want to send out a huge congratulations to Kevin Sterrick. Thank you for watching the show, Kevin. I do appreciate that. And Oregon's Firearms Federation, look, let's face it. You've got a lot of douchebag Republican Party members here. The party itself, especially in Coos County, they're not doing anything to benefit you. And if you find a good candidate, I highly recommend you give to that candidate. But don't give to the county parties who aren't helping you out. What you need to do is give money to the Oregon Firearms Federation. They're the organization that's they've got the brass balls to challenge the federal government and the state government on all the firearm regulations that they're trying to shove down our throat. All the measures that these leftists put on the ballot, like Measure 113, they're challenging these measures and they're winning. They're doing a good job of winning. So if you want to be on a winning team, not like the Republicans, not so much like the Republicans, but you want to be on a winning team, you need to become a member of Oregon Firearms Federation. You don't even have to become a member. What you need to do is give them some of your hard-earned money. Because if you own guns and you go out and you buy ammo, I buy a lot of ammo. I buy a shitload of ammo, okay? So if you're buying a lot of ammo, I think you could spend $10 and send it over to the Oregon Firearms Federation. It's the only no-compromise gun group in the entire state, and we need to support them. And I've been a big supporter of Oregon Firearms Federation. Kevin Sterritt is just kicking ass over there. So I hope you guys definitely consider giving him money. Let's see. Oh, no. None of your business. Want me to call him real quick? No, I don't want you to call Kevin. We'll get him on. We have to get him on real soon because there's new stuff happening. And so none of your business. No, we'll talk to him at another time. But thank you. I appreciate you thinking about it. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about here real quick before I get you off the air? Oh, I'm sorry. Tim Tim. Oh, you want to call Tim. I'm having a conversation with none of your business while I'm on the show. Isn't that crazy? That's what you can do when you're live. No, don't bother. No bother. I will get a hold of Tim later, and I'll make it up to him. We promoted his business. And once again, go over to Tommy Gigs at see Tim over at Tommy Gigs. And by the way, you need an RC car, they can take care of you. But right now on the screen is Bandon Gun Club. They have a five stand trap over there. If you want to learn how to do trap shooting, you want to become a precision marksman, this is one way to do it, because we might need those shotguns to take out all that small game in the area. Because why? Well, the federal government and the state government has closed down all those farms and ranches, just like the stories I showed you earlier. Well, you need to hone those skills, those hunting skills, and one way to do it is to go to the Bandon Gun Club. They've got a pistol range. They've got a 5-stand trap for shooting trap, and I highly recommend it. I had a blast the last time I went over there, and I need to go over there again. And they don't have a rifle range, but that's okay. Tioga Sports Park, the people who are over there, the Tioga Sports Park Association, they at the park itself, they have a rifle range. I believe it's 150 yards. I highly recommend it. You can go out there and hone your skills with the rifle. If you live in Bandon, I recommend you go to the Bandon shooting range and get precise with your firearms. What can I tell you? You may need them. You may need them for more than hunting. You may need them to take out some of these commie bastards around here. I don't know. It may come to that point. And when you've got an open border, where there are people coming here who are military age and they're coming here from China, yeah, you may want to get a little more precise with your rifles and your handguns. I mean, you may actually have to come to the point, Americans may have to come to that point where we're defending our own family. And if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. Be damned with the government regulations. Be damned with the federal government and the state government of Oregon trying to take away our guns, trying to take away our rights. We're not going to allow it. I know I'm not going to allow it. And I don't care if they come in, they kick in my door, and they take me off to the gulag, because I know there are many good Americans out there who can replace me. Everyone's replaceable. We're all unique. We're all unique people. There's no one more unique than me, but I'm still replaceable. And I know there are young people out there who can fill my shoes and do the same thing I'm doing and fight this fight, because it is a good fight. If you love America, if you love our country and what it stands for. And by the way, this is the difference between these commies and a patriot. A patriot loves their country, but a patriot questions the government. A patriot always questions their government. A commie, they want more government. They want centralized rule. They want to have the government ruling your life. That's a commie. I don't want the government ruling my life. I want to live my life as an individual. I don't want to be a part of their damn communities. I don't want to be a part of whatever they got going on. I want to be a patriot individual, someone who loves their country, loves their freedom, loves the American form of government, but yet questions that government on a regular basis. Because I'm not going to stop questioning these bastards. Why? Because they're lying bastards. They're probably lying to you right now, and you need to question them. But don't worry, I know there's plenty of you out there who are going to take my place if they come in and kick my door and drag me off. And if they do drag me off, 3 meals, three hots in a cot, no big deal. Even if the meals aren't hot, I can get used to bologna sandwiches. So they don't scare me. Hopefully they won't scare you. And I hope you tune in for next week. I don't know who the guest will be, but I'm sure it's going to be a good one. Tune in Friday night. I'm going to do another Friday night rant at 7 o'clock this Friday. Don't know who the guest is going to be. It's going to be a surprise. You like surprises? I like surprises. So until then, folks, carry on, Coos County. Carry on.